1. Here we go!
Good day, viewers, and welcome back to yet another episode of We Talk. I am, of course, Precious Nitanapo, your host and presenter for the show. On today's agenda, we have an interesting interview with Mr. Frank Steffan, who is, of course, the editing manager and the coordinator for the Tourism Expo. My apologies. And then we have an interesting We Recommend video coming up as well. Just something that we think you guys should take a look at. But before we get into all of that, let's have a look at the news. In today's news edition, we look at teacher skills being enhanced thanks to the Bank Windhoek Foundation. In collaboration with the Capricorn Foundation, Bank Windhoek hosts a Grade 4 Mathematics Teachers Initiative in Windhoek today and tomorrow. Supported by the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, the workshop aims to invest in the education of Namibian youth. Bank Windhoek's head of stakeholder engagement, corporate social responsibility and sponsorships, Bronwyn Moody, said that the event is a culmination of the bank's 40th anniversary celebrated last year. As a socially responsible corporate citizen, Bank Windhoek, through the Capricorn Foundation, takes pride in giving back to the communities in which we operate, she says. Moody added that 27 teachers from across the country were identified to attend the workshop. The training will assist them in gaining skills to understand the syllabus better. The prerequisite for mathematics teachers was that they had less than 5 years of experience. We specifically searched for teachers from the least performing schools countrywide in rural areas, she explains. The teachers will receive a certificate upon completing the training and can use these skills to improve the mathematics academic results of the learners currently enrolled in Grade 4. Ishmael Topoli Ndumi Litwai, Ronelli Guriras, and Sophia Haipinge, heads of departments of mathematics and science in their respective schools, will facilitate the workshop. Ntopoli said his role in the workshop is to facilitate finding strategies to overcome challenging topics in the Namibian syllabus. Litwai, the founder of After School Learning Support, said he looks forward to sharing his mathematics training acquired in Japan. Gurira said that she will share educational games that teachers can use to improve results and make mathematics exciting. Haipinge echoed her team's sentiments and added that she would focus on bridging the gap between the Grade 3 and 4 learners. The executive officer of the Capricorn Foundation, Marlies Horn, said that the foundation is proud to partner with Bank Windhoek on hosting the event. Education is one of the key focus areas of the Capricorn Foundation, and this is one of many initiatives we support to improve education in Namibia. We truly believe that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Since late 2022, Bank Windhoek and the Ministry of Education work together in preparation for the event. This is a good example of public-private partnership, and we are proud to journey together in sharing stories, finding solutions, and forging ahead to becoming the best we can be for all our learners and future leaders of our country, Moody concluded. That was it for the first section of this news. back to yet another episode of We Talk. It's of course time for our interview, and I am seated next to Frank Steffan, who is our managing editor, also the coordinator of the Namibia Tourism Expo. Speaking under correction.
I think you're speaking a bit under correction. It would be Michelle.
Okay.
So
all right.
Michelle LaRue really coordinates it, and we just all help her as a team.
Great. Okay. No. So Frank, we just have you here today just for a little bit insight on the Tourism Expo. Just a brief background on what the Tourism Expo actually is and when it started.
Now look, this is obviously the 24th edition of the Tourism Expo. Originally it started off as the Namibia Tourism Expo, and then we changed it 2 years ago into just plain the Expo, the Tourism Expo. And there's a specific reason for it. We came to the conclusion at one stage that Namibia in itself has obviously these hundreds of destinations that you can market, and which obviously adds value to any visitor's plans. But at the end of the day, we just felt that our people also go beyond the borders, and other people come from outside the borders to us from Southern Africa. So at the time we came up with this idea of having 10 degrees south latitude now. And so all countries that we regard as more or less our neighboring countries, going as far as even Mozambique or Tanzania, should really be seen as Southern Africa, which makes sense if you look at the SADC. Yeah. So the Tourism Expo has certainly evolved over time. But at the end of the day, the idea is to get together those guys who supply people who live of the tourism industry, obviously all the guys from, you know, the hospitality industry and so on. And then finally, one needs to understand that more often than not, people are actually suddenly finding that they actually want to suddenly plan their holiday simply because they've got this huge offering there, and they suddenly realize, no, but this is just as good a time as any.
I think I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Would you say, I think it definitely does, but just from your perspective, NMH's contribution towards the tourism industry, especially with the Tourism Expo?
I personally find it's huge. It's huge, and it's one of a kind. And it's not because I work for Namibia Media Holdings. It's simply somebody still has to show me which private company contributes in such a big way towards what the tourism industry tries to achieve. And it goes beyond the expo. It already starts in the way that we approach tourism reporting. It's all about the fact that we've got a tourism show which we air every week, in which we obviously have on the NTV. And we try and promote all these different destinations. If anybody who basically contributes and tells us about his lodge or her lodge, or for that matter, whatever they've got as an idea, we speak about it and we promote it. And tourism is obviously much further than that. You know, these days tourism is all about that experience and what makes up that experience. So I might be somehow involved in ERA, you know, the elephant-human relation aids, or get into the desert adapted lines through Delra or the desert line ranges, or you know, there are 100 ways in which you can do it. And I mean, we've always been behind the rhino protection and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, all of that can only work if we promote tourism. And NMH really sees that as one of its major social contributions in every possible way.
I think especially because, not just because of the Tourism Expo, but then the weekly show that we have as well. I think that definitely goes out to say the contribution that it gives out in the tourism industry.
And you know, whether people like it or not, all of that costs money.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to pay at the end of the day. And so NMH mostly covers that out of their own pocket, you know. It literally costs people going out to various sites, speaking to people, coming back, producing the item. And there are people in the background. We sit here and we talk, but I mean, here we've got our sound man doing this stuff. Afterwards, it's quality controlled and all this sort of thing. There are a dozen people always involved, and so it's not a cheap process. And so I really think NMH contributes in a big way there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Speaking of the Tourism Expo, we know it's quite a big event, so a lot of planning goes into it. Are there any partnering companies that are jumping on board this year?
Yeah, I think what happened is this year we obviously moved the expo into a much earlier phase of the year. which makes sense because it's before the tourism industry goes into its peak season. So it makes perfect sense. The only problem is that we caught out our sponsors to some extent, in as much as that within 6 months we had a second expo now. And then obviously they've got their budget constraints as well. So going forward, I'm sure we'll have them back with us. But at this stage, it's to the largest degree, it's really NMH from the one side, and then
Standard Bank and PayPals,
where they start getting involved with our vouchers and how we hand out the vouchers, because obviously people need to take part in the expo simply to get hold of those vouchers, because that always works. It works out as a nice little discount if you do your bookings or whatever you plan to do.
Great. I think that's a great partnership also to have as well. Makes the
Standard Bank really came to the party on that score.
Is there anything particularly that viewers can look forward to at the Tourism Expo?
Where do we start? So no, I think the word particularly doesn't really apply. There's so much that applies. You know, we've basically got 60 stands. Do we have 60 people participating? No, we've got 48 parties who basically take part, because some of the people take more than one stand. But the big thing is you also have the city market involved with that, and they've got another 24 stands. And now suddenly it's actually quite a big expo. So it's obviously this year it's in the country club, and so it's a much different environment. You've got all these various discussions and seminars that will be happening this year, and I think that could possibly be the most important. I almost want to say, if you're part of the tourism industry, especially if you are from the younger generation, those would be the items that you would want to watch, for the simple reason that Tourism Expo, it's open every day from 1600 through to 2200. So that's the one thing. But then the seminars is where it is all about what can youth do in tourism. What is out there that is being done to support youth in tourism? What sort of opportunities do they have in terms of training, in terms of actually having SMEs, you know, getting started in this whole thing? And so there's a huge number of different facets that will be discussed during these discussion rounds. But one of the things that I find very interesting is the English High Commissioner, Charles Moore. He'll be there, and having traveled throughout Namibia to quite some extent, he will actually go into this issue of what can visitors expect at the expo, which I think is, you know, not at the expo, actually in tourism. And that to me is a very interesting item, because we have certain opinions about who we are, what we offer, and how good we are, and we obviously love our country, so we sell it as best as we can. But here comes another person who has learned to see the good and the bad, and has certainly come to the conclusion that he sees more good than bad in terms of it. But he's realistic. So if you go there, that's what you can expect. If you go there, that's what you can expect. And I'm looking forward to that sort of discussion, because it might actually be a wake-up call to the tourism industry to have somebody just take stock of what he experiences instead of how we
an outside view.
So it will actually take place in the Winter Country Club in the States. So it's not just normal country club as in golf. It's obviously next to the golf club. And that's exactly how it works. We've got all these stands up where normally people would be used to having their workshops and seminars and whatever, and their meetings, and then it goes out to the front onto the lawn, and you've got more offerings out there, and then you go through a nice little, almost like an airport hall and into the city market. So I think it's actually quite a nice design, something totally different. I must be honest, I'm very impressed with what I saw, and so I think we earlier spoke about Miss LaRue. She does really, Michelle is just something special in that regard.
Well, that gives us a lot to be excited for the Tourism Expo, from seminars to the city market to the whole layout of everything. I think we will all be flocking to the Tourism Expo this year just to indulge in the tourism industry and take away from all of it. But I think that concludes our interview for today. Mr. Steffan, thank you for joining us.
Okay, thanks very much.
Good day, viewers, and welcome back to yet another episode of We Talk. It's of course time for our We Recommend segment. I am Precious Nitanapo, your host and presenter for the show, and today our recommendation is Fudge by Jamie. I definitely think it's something to try out, something that has just arrived in the market but is already making quite a noise. How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm good. I'm feeling all types of happy to be here with Precious. Thank you for the opportunity. As Precious mentioned before, I am quite new, or our business is quite new, but we are here to stay, and I do believe we are like the best in town. If you haven't tasted it, you should taste it just to make sure. I am being honest. We have different kinds of flavors. We have 3 only now, but then obviously we plan on getting more flavors over time. Yeah. We have the caramel, which is just the normal fudge flavor. We have Oreo, and then we have chocolate and caramel. But my favorite is Oreo.
I think my favorite is also Oreo. Anything Oreo.
I think people just like Oreos. So
I think so.
If you love fudge and you love Oreos, it's like the perfect combination.
Okay, but before we get all into it and we continue talking all about our love for fudge, I think it's time Jamie takes us to the kitchen and we get into it.
Already?
Yeah.
I just arrived.
Yeah.
But let's go.
Okay.
So guys, what you need for your pan of fudge is you need 2 cans of condensed milk. This you can get at any store. You need for your Oreo fudge, of course, Oreos. You need some marathon sugar. You need golden syrup, some vanilla essence, as well as butter. And that's all you'll need to make fudge. It seems simple, but it gets a bit complicated. Yeah. Okay, so now we're just gonna, for me personally, I don't need to measure. I don't need to measure because I do this every day, and yeah, I know at this point how it works. Now we're gonna pour in our sugar. Just need a bit more. Sometimes if you pour in too much water, you can always add more sugar, which is what I'm doing now because I overestimated, I guess. And then we just take our little spatula and we just stir. And right now, how do you say it in English? Die plat is op 3. So it's on 3, not too hot. And you just stir till your sugar dissolves, and you do that for the amount of time you need to, like, you literally see the difference between how it looks before and after it dissolves. Just stir, and after you stir your sugar and it dissolves, you then put in a piece, basically I would say 1 cup of butter, but not melted. So once again, I really don't measure because I'm already used to it now. It's like in my brain, it's in my system. So I think our sugar still needs a bit of time. I increased the temperature a bit. Okay, I think we're ready for our butter. So now I'm gonna take half of this, because I don't want to use that much butter. It's not necessary. Ooh. Yep. And we just wait for it to melt as well. But you still stir. Like, the key to making fudge and nice and smooth fudge is always to stir. Don't stop stirring, literally. You need to stand in front of your pot and stir. Otherwise, the sugar will crystallize, and you really don't want that to happen, because that's like the end of your smooth fudge. So even if it seems like you don't have to stir, just stir. It helps. Definitely does. And our butter has melted, so now we use our golden syrup. Guys, please use original golden syrup. Don't stab yourself in the back. Just hold on, it needs a bit of time. And I can't tell you exactly how much, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count to 5. I think that's the right amount. because I just throw in what feels like the right amount, and that feels about right. And then the most exciting part, or the tastiest part, which is we're gonna now pour in our condensed milk. So let me just go open the cans and then I'll pour them in right now. So we have our condensed milk here. Ooh, it's already messy. I usually use a spoon to pour out my condensed milk. Ooh. I love condensed milk. So for this specific recipe, we are using 2 cans of condensed milk, but if you want to make more fudge, what you do is you double the ingredients. Everything just gets doubled or tripled, or yeah, that. So it's not that complicated. You don't have to use anything different really if you want to make more fudge. But making more fudge is in one pot at once is quite tricky, because with fudge everything matters. Temperature, the right amount of ingredients, like everything matters. So if you have just, if the temperature is too high at the wrong time, then your fudge most probably won't work out, or the texture won't be the way you want it to be. Anyways, so now we just stir our condensed milk into the mixture that we already had. And like I said, stirring is literally the key to everything. I can't really explain the changing of the temperature. I feel like it's something you just learn as you make your fudge. You'll get your way, you'll understand the way. And I feel like it also changes from stove to stove and pot to pot, because everything is different at people's houses. So yeah, now we're just gonna stir. We're still stirring. Feels like an hour already, but we're still stirring. I don't know if you guys can see, but the texture has changed, and so has the color. And you just have to continue stirring and monitoring your pot. You can't even leave it for a second. So now, as you can see, our fudge is literally now this is like, I know I've been saying it, but this is like the last stage. Like now the texture is like very thick, and there's even air in the fudge. It's actually when you know there's potential for it to be done. But because I feel it's still a bit thin, what I do to help it out, I pour in a bit of vanilla essence, even though this is only supposed to be done when you feel like it's completely done. A bit of vanilla essence, and then I mix really fast, just to get a bit of the air out, because it's so much air, and I don't like how it is when you have to pour it into the pan. And now here you have to be really fast, because you don't want your fudge to burn or anything like that. And it is exhausting. This is why I have nice arms. It's like a workout. You need to be fast. Temperature shouldn't be that high at all. It's the temperature heat, but either way it shouldn't be that high at all. Otherwise your fudge will literally just burn. Mine is currently on 2, just for control. I know it looks like it's done, but my fudge mind is saying no, still needs time. I don't want it to be in the pan for too long. It should just be in the pan for a few minutes, and then it should be like a bit hard. Not hard, but solidified basically. Okay, my arms are tired. Now I think we're ready. Pour it into the pan. Yeah. Okay, so now we are pouring, this is the stressful part honestly, our fudge into the pan, and I'm really just trying to not burn myself. Literally, I'm just trying to not hurt myself. But so far so good. Looks really nice. I just need to fix it up a bit. So this is usually what I do. Literally I have to shape it and everything because nothing is perfect, and that needs to be done very fast because the fudge is now literally going to set, and you don't want it to have this awkward shape. You want it to look as cute as possible. And also keep in mind, I also still have to add Oreos because one of my customers ordered Oreo fudge. So me being the smart girl that I am, I planned in a certain way. Anyways, just need to, problem is I'm also a perfectionist, so, and right now time is not on my side, so trying my best to make it look as cute and presentable as possible. Sure. Okay, then we take our Oreo. Need to move a bit fast. Yes. I hate it when my Oreos are broken. Okay, I have to take our Oreos, we break them just like this and literally just press them in. It was literally for one customer, and then the rest is for other customers. And now you just let your fudge sit and set for at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you'll literally be done.
Can you believe it's the last weekend of April already and a long weekend to boot? On Friday and Saturday, the city of Windhoek hosts the Ngaikamps Arts and Cultural Festival at the municipality's upper parking, featuring musicians, crafters, food vendors, actors, cultural groups, and so much more. As from 2 o'clock, doors are open to Yeeza's 2.0 concert at Temperature in Windhoek. Windhoek City by Night with performances by Gloria Del Mar, Rian Smith, YD Fresh, Sixth Outcast, Amakus and Gareth Harvey takes place at the Wolf Shack as from 6:30, and at 7 celebrate International Jazz Day with Dama Fusion at the Franco-Namibian Cultural Centre where the entrance is free. Friday is also the last day of the annual Tourism Expo that takes place at the Windhoek Country Club until 10. On Saturday, join the Seagulls Potjie Festival at Windpomp 14 along the coast with a flea market, food stalls, wine tasting and a play area for the kids. At 5:30 in Windhoek, sketch and sip at Fresh and Wild at Utopia with tickets that include art supplies, a glass of wine and a light snack. At 7, King Kandoro performs at Muse's Cafe in Merensky Street in the capital. Saturday is also your last chance to view an ode to the masters in the National Art Gallery, while Cutting the Flame of Curiosity can still be viewed at the Bauhaus Atelier until the 13th of May. Have a safe, long
Well, we've come to the end of today's episode of We Talk Yet Again. I am Precious Ntanapo. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, enjoyed our interview, our We Recommend, and that you check out our We Chill segment for this weekend's activities. We have quite a few things coming up, including the Tourism Expo. We hope to see you guys around.